it's another one that's fitting. It's called No Fear and Faith, right? No fear and faith. And obviously, just with the title of the class, that shows that there's evidence that fear and lack of faith is something that we ought to be dealing with. That would be a normal thing, a normal fight, right? So, Officer Picard, can you lead us in with the commentary?
Fear. Fear is a disabling thing. Many times, it is our fears which keeps us from getting to the next level of anything we hope to venture into. It also affects the way we progress in our spiritual growth. We must learn to suppress our fears, as the times ahead will be full of fearful sights and much tribulation. Let's go over a few scriptures to help in our learning to overcome fear.
Right, so starting off with the commentary, it says fear is a disabling thing. So what does that mean? Fear will immobilize you. It'll make you stuck in cement, right? No progress, can't move forward. And the funny thing about fear is you created it in your own head. In a sense, it's not even real. But through your actions and your beliefs, you will make it real. And you'll bring it to pass, whatever you fear. Right? But here's the thing, just something to think about before we move into the spirit of the lesson. What happens if you're a people, and let's get Hosea 4 and 6. Let's get the scripture first.
Hosea chapter 4, verse 6. My people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge, because thou hast rejected knowledge. I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me, seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy God. I will also forget thy children.
Right, so it says, my people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee. So here we get self-inflicted wounds. The fearful state that we're in, while we lack the faith and while we are, filled with fear, is actually our own fault. Why? Because we are the ones who rejected the Most High. So it says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, right? And it says, because thou hast rejected knowledge. So what knowledge did we reject? Go ahead and finish the verse. It says, I'll read. I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me, seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy power. I will also forget thy children. So we forgot the law. Or a better term, we rejected the law. Right? Go ahead with verse 7.
Verse 7. As they were increased, so they sinned against me. Therefore will I change their glory into shame.
And the key thing about it is rejecting the Most High and rebelling the Most High is a lot more to it, because it's a mindset that comes with that. Just like as we were increased, we got prideful. That was a mindset that came with that, right? So we also have to work on breaking the chains of these mindsets that we're stuck in. And if we're destroyed, what happens when you lose your culture, your tradition, your history, your sense of self, right? What happens when you have to depend on somebody else to define who you are? What happens when you have to depend on somebody else to teach you who you are? What happens when you have to depend on somebody else to teach you what contributions you made? and what those contributions mean, and put a value on those contributions you made, and define it as a contribution, period. Right? What happens when you have to depend on somebody else to define what standards you should be living by, what values you should have, what a good life means? You're in a dependent state. So in reality, we're not even in a situation as a people where we can say faith is the norm. Fear, anxiety is the norm for us. But once again, we did it to ourselves because we rejected the Most High. We rejected the law. We were rebellious. So let's get going into the lesson. Let's get Ezekiel chapter 3, verse 4.
Ezekiel chapter 3, verse 4. And he said unto me, Son of man, go, get thee unto the house of Israel, and speak my words unto them. Verse 5, for thou art not sent to a people of a strange speech and of a hard language, but to the house of Israel.
Right, so Ezekiel is not being sent out to a people who will not understand what's coming out of his mouth, pretty much. Go ahead.
Verse 6, not too many people of a strange speech and of a hard language, whose words thou cannot understand.
Right, so they're going to understand what's coming out of his mouth, and he's going to understand what's coming out of their mouth. They're both speaking the same language. It's not foreigner speaking to foreigner. Go ahead.
Surely, had I sent thee to them, they would have hearkened unto thee.
Right. So, what the Most High is saying, if I had sent you, Ezekiel, to a nation who didn't understand, right, or for that matter, who had a different culture than you, and you were trying to warn them about the destruction to come, and that all they need to do is serve the true living God, they'll change right away. Because Jeremiah, I believe it's 2:11, it says, has the nation changed their God? No. So the other nations know how to stick to their gods. But Israel is a different story. Once again, a self-inflicted wound. Go ahead.
Verse 7, but the house of Israel will not hearken unto thee, for they will not hearken unto me. For all the house of Israel are imputed and are hard-hearted.
Right, so they're not going to hearken unto you, Ezekiel, because first of all, they're not going to hearken unto me. Go ahead.
Verse 8, behold, I have made thy face strong against their faces, and thy forehead strong against their foreheads.
Right, so what it's meaning is the Most High had gave the spirit on Ezekiel to be able to withstand the harsh looks, the ridicule, things like that that'll come from such a stubborn and hard-headed people. And we see it all the time, especially out on street preaching, right? We got a million stories left and right, up and down, about how if we flinched too much to the left or too much to the right, we would have shown some level of weakness. But the Most High gave us a spirit to understand the type of people we're dealing with. Right? Go ahead.
As an adamant harder than flint have I made thy forehead. Fear them not, neither be dismayed at their looks, though they be a rebellious house.
Right, and here's another thing too. If you don't know who you are, right, and if you're looking at your own people through the eyes of others who define who you are, you won't understand this key element about your own people. So you'll look at the hard-heartedness and count it as evil. You'll say, oh, they're evil, they don't get it. Not realizing like this is a spirit that the Most High put on our people, so once when they get shucking up and accept the truth, they'll be hard-headed for the truth as well. Go ahead.
Verse 10, moreover, he said unto me, Son of man, All my words that I shall speak unto thee, receive in thine heart, and hear with thine ears. Verse 11, and go, get thee to them of the captivity.
Right. And what's crazy about this, we're hard-headed in our captivity. We're stern, steadfast for the stereotypes that they've given us. And it was a very interesting conversation I had with Malak last night. I just asked him a simple question. Who all fell into the trap and aren't graduating with you tomorrow? And when he told me, it made sense who wasn't graduating. Excuse me, not who's not graduating, but who just fell through the cracks. And if you don't have that support system to shake you from the spell of these stereotypes, you will fall through the cracks. Plenty of us have seen it. Friends, family members, they lived up to the highest potential of what they were told they were supposed to be. Every negative aspect of it, right? So it says, go get thee to them of the captivity. Because just how we'll be so stern to live out these stereotypes and make these curses a boast, once we get the truth, we'll do the same thing for it. The truth hurts. The truth does hurt. Because what happens, what does the truth do? It shakes your whole understanding of reality. And it's painful. But it's the only thing that leads to salvation. Go ahead, Art.
Verse 11. And go, and get thee to them of the captivity, unto the children of thy people, and speak unto them, and tell them, thou sayest the Most High, whether they will hear or whether they will forbear.
Right, so whether they hear or not, whether they listen to you or not, right? Your mission is still to go to them of the captivity and speak to them.
Ezekiel, much like our leaders today, have been sent to a nation of people who are highly rebellious. Threats, rumors, and lies are just a few things you run into doing this work. Regardless of the obstacles, the mission must go on. All the prophets were met with such challenges, but they finished their course.
Right. So let's continue with 1 John chapter 4, verse 15. That's 1 John, don't get it confused with St. John. That's 1 John, towards the end of the Bible, chapter 4, verse 15.
First John chapter 4, verse 15. Whosoever shall confess that Yeshua is the Son of the Most High dwelleth in him, and he in the Most High.
And one of the key things about this verse, how we'll easily glaze over this verse and not realize the historical context of this verse. Because remember, we've been speaking about for the past few weeks how Israel back then, it was the norm to sacrifice an animal to cover your sins. But to actually believe that a man walking in the flesh among you is the actual Son of the living power, and his blood covers your sins, yeah, you will get some ridicule if you walk around confessing that. You will lose your sense of status in the neighborhood and your family. You would have those close to you look at you like you're crazy. And then when you go your separate ways, they're going to go off and sacrifice an animal. Right? So we got to understand the historical context of these scriptures, not just glaze over them, right? Because it says, whoever shall confess that Yeshua is the Son of God, God dwelleth in him, and he in God. So now, fast forward to today, we got to confess that true Son of the true God. Not the Cesar Borgia character, and that whole story that comes with Cesar, and the Trinity and all that. It's the true Son and the true living power. Go ahead, Doc.
Verse 16, and we have known and believed the love of the Most High hath to us. The Most High is love, and he that dwelleth in love dwelleth in the Most High, and the Most High in him. Verse 17, herein is our love made perfect, that we may have boldness in the day of judgment, because as he is, so are we in this world. Verse 18, there is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear, because fear hath torment. He that feareth is not made perfect in love.
And here is how you can kind of start dissecting these scriptures and kind of weigh the strength and the potency of your love. Because if fear is creeping in, then you kind of, now we got a reference, like, okay, I can refer back to the scripture, this is what I'm dealing with, and this is what I need to work on. Go ahead with the commentary.
It is with love for the Most High and the brethren that we continue on regardless of the challenge. That love will serve us well in our hour of temptation, when strong delusions and many dangers may be upon us.
Right. So next set of scriptures, 1 John chapter 5, verse 1. Because we can't tell you to love and not explain what love is according to the scriptures. We can't tell you to be perfect in love without defining what love is according to the scriptures. Go ahead.
1 John chapter 5, verse 1. Whosoever believeth that Yeshua is the Christ is born of the Most High.
And, excuse me, whosoever believeth that Yeshua is the Christ, the Savior, the anointed one, the one that's supposed to cover our sins. Go ahead.
And everyone that loveth him, that begat, loveth him, also that is begotten of him.
Right, so it's pretty much saying the same thing. And everyone that loveth him that begot, which is the Most High, loveth him also that is begotten of him. Yeah, that was a wrong mouse.
Verse 2, by this we know that we love the children of the Most High. Excuse me, family, I need a mouse.
And in his defense, my mouse, this little pad thing ain't the best to work with.
Okay, verse 2. By this we know that we love the children of the Most High, when we love the Most High and keep his commandments. Verse 3. For this is the love of the Most High, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not grievous. Verse 4, for whatsoever is born of the Most High overcometh the world, and this is the victory that overcometh the world, even our faith. Verse 5, who is he that overcometh the world, but he that believeth that Yeshua is the Son of the Most High?
Right, so it poses a question that says, who is he that overcometh the world, but he that believeth that Yeshua is the Son of the Most High? But it's a direct connection. If you believe that the Messiah, or that Yeshua is the Son of the Most High, that also means that you're following the commandments, right? That you're made perfect in love. Let's get the commentary.
It is through understanding the Most High's commandments and keeping them that our faith will be heightened.
Right, so it's only by following the Most High and not rejecting the Most High and not being rebellious, that our faith gets heightened. That's the only way. There's no other way. Go ahead.
Understanding our authority in Yeshua also gives us strength to endure the challenges that the world tries throwing at us to shake our faith.
So what does that mean? Understanding our authority in Yeshua. Because we got to understand what that actually means. Trying to think of a real world example. Let's just say a king, right? He's protected by the authority that's already given to him by the throne. So he has liberties, right? He can do certain things and not worry. He can be in certain situations and not worry because he's the king. Same thing with the boss or the CEO of the company. He has autonomy. He has freedom to do certain things, or he has what you call the peace of mind in a lot of situations because it's his show. Now, I'm not saying we're the king, we're on the throne, or we're the boss, but I'm trying to give a real world example on how you can look at how a king will be protected by his authority. So we actually have authority through Christ to not have fear when we're in certain situations, when we're being attacked, when we're seeing destruction around us. You have to put yourself in that place spiritually to know that you have authority given to you by Christ. Why? Because you didn't rebel against his Father, and you understood the Father through the wisdom that the Son gave you. You're following him right now because of the wisdom of Christ. Go ahead. Next set of scriptures, Hebrews chapter 13. We read the commentary, right? Okay. Hebrews chapter 13, verse 5.
Hebrews chapter 13, verse 5. Let your conversation be without covetousness, and be content with such things as ye have. For he has said, I will never leave thee nor forsake thee.
And going back to the last scripture, this is something that just popped in my head, right? If you notice, a lot of people who are against the Bible, whether it's, atheists or black conscious people even, the comedians, whatever, usually they say that the people who follow the Bible are weak-minded. And why are they weak-minded? Because they put their faith in something outside of them, right? But of course, if it's Satan's kingdom, he's gonna flip the script and not have you operate according to what your true culture is, which is putting your faith in something outside of you, the authority that Christ has given you, having your faith in that. So they'll downplay it in this world through Satan's philosophy, through Satan's reasoning, and all this mess, right? And make you think that you're less of a person because you can't stand up on your own 2 feet and have faith and courage in yourself to make your mark, right? So let's read Hebrews chapter 13 and 5 one more time, Mark, because it's going to lead right into what the scripture's saying.
Let your conversation be without covetousness, and be content with such things as ye have. For he hath said, I will never leave thee nor forsake thee. Verse 6, so that we may boldly say, the Most High is my helper, and I will not fear what man shall do unto me.
Right. So it says, let your conversation be without covetousness. That's another mindset that we learn in Babylon through Satan himself. Why? Because if you believe and have faith in something outside of yourself, and you believe and have faith in the church and dedicate your life to the church, they'll say you're weak-minded. But it's through their coveting and power seeking, the individualism. How can you be an individual and express your talents if you're locked down into the belief system of a church, or you're locked down in the belief system of your religion, if you're locked down in the belief system of that Bible you keep toting around, that's holding you down. You can't think free. These things be real subtle in the so-called philosophy of old satanic Babylon. And it be little subtle things like that that drive that be the foundation of our own personality and our whole thought system and our behavior. And these be the things that we gotta work on, because these are the things that we don't even realize are controlling our lives, right? Because Christ said it perfectly in Matthew 23 about the Pharisees, because this lines right up with the Pharisees. Let your conversation be without covetousness. They were coveting the power, the recognition, the status, right? The right to say who or who's not going to make it to the kingdom, so-called. And it was all about the outward. The fringes, the beards, being experts at the law, being expert teachers, so-called. Read, if you can you read 5 and 6 one more time? Hebrews.
Hebrews chapter 13, verse 5. Let your conversation be without covetousness, and be content with such things as ye have. For he has said, I will never leave thee nor forsake thee. Verse 6. So that we may boldly say, the Most High is my helper, and I will not fear what man shall do unto me.
Right. Because if you're speaking with covetousness, if you have that mindset, that Babylonian mindset, in reality you're showing how much lack of faith you have and how much pride you have. So let's get the commentary.
Oftentimes we lack contentment in our life scenarios. This lack of contentment trains us to doubt. Where there is doubt, fear enters in and chokes the word, so that we will fear man rather than the Father.
Right. And what do? We do what Sirach warns us not to do. We force the course of the river. And we end up fearing man because man is telling us how we're supposed to be living our life. We don't fear the Most High, so we live according to his standards, because obviously we done lost faith, we done lost patience, and the Most High, so-called, isn't showing up in our life. But you know what? Man has the answers. He has the quick ways. He has the quick paths, so we can, so-called, get what we're coveting after, because we can't take the pressure that the Most High, these trials that have been placed in our life, right? So let's get 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 6.
2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 6. Wherefore I put thee in remembrance that thou stir up the gift of the Most High, which is in thee by putting on of my hands.
Right, so working in the same, the same spirit that Paul is working in. Go ahead.
Verse 7, for the Most High hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind.
So it says the Most High has not given us a spirit of fear, but what has he given us? If we listen and do not rebel, he's given us power, love, and a sound mind. So that means if we do reject him in the so-called hour of crisis, lose our patience, and we let fear rule us, we have no power. We're disempowered. We have no love. We have anger, hate, envy, and lust. And we have no sound mind. We're being tossed to and fro. We're being driven crazy. Next verse, Rob.
Verse 8, be not thou therefore ashamed of the testimony of our Most High, nor be of me his prisoner, but be thou partaker of the afflictions of the gospel according to the power of the Most High.
Right. So be not therefore ashamed of the testimony of our Lord Yeshua. Go ahead with the commentary.
The spirit of fear comes from the adversary, not the Most High. We must not be ashamed to witness the testimony of Yeshua until the end.
Yep. So let's get Philippians chapter 2, verse 10.
Philippians chapter 2, verse 10. That at the name of Yeshua, every knee should bow, of things in heaven, and things in earth, and things under the earth. Verse 11, and that every tongue should confess that Yeshua is Lord, to the glory of the Most High, the Father.
Right. Every tongue. It says every tongue. Every tongue. Because it's going to be so evident at that point. Go ahead.
Verse 12. Wherefore, my beloved, as we have always obeyed, not as in my presence only, but now much more in my absence, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling.
So he's addressing to the church, and even how Elder Gabar explained to us historically, even more so the elders of the church, but the church period, it says, not in my presence only, but now much more in my absence, right? So we can't what he's trying to say is you can't let just my presence be the fire start of your faith. Just because when I'm around you, then once I leave, you get deflated, right? Go ahead.
Verse 13, for it is the Most High which worketh in you both to will and to do of his good pleasure.
Okay, go ahead with the commentary.
Only thing we should fear is to be rebellious against the Father.
And remember, what class was that? I can't remember if it was the Bible study class I did or the Sabbath, but it was in the commentary how we will try to negotiate with the Most High. So usually when we're in a rebellious state, we're in that negotiation. And think about the mindset you're in when you're negotiating with the Most High, so-called, right? But how many times have we even thought to have a mindset of fearing the rebelliousness of the Most High? Or rebellious against the Most High? Because we do it all the time with our natural fathers. We'll fear to be rebellious against our natural father. And we know the consequences of that. So we gotta have even much more of our spiritual father to fear being rebellious against him. Go ahead, Al.
It is the Most High who through Yeshua will judge the dead and the living.
All right, next set of scriptures, we're going to Matthew chapter 10, verse 19.
Matthew chapter 10, verse 19. But when they deliver you up, take no thought how or what ye shall speak, for it shall be given you in the same hour what ye shall speak. Verse 20, for it is not ye that speak, but the Spirit of your Father which speaketh in you.
And that's another mindset you gotta have as well. To be willing to be a blank slate. To be willing to be a vessel and be used by the Spirit. Go ahead.
Verse 21, and the brother shall deliver up the brother to death, and the father the child, and the children shall rise up against their parents and cause them to be put to death. Verse 22, and ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake, but he that endureth to the end shall be saved. Verse 23, but when they persecute you in this city, flee ye into another. For verily I say unto you, ye shall not have gone over the cities of Israel till the Son of Man be come.
Right, so it says, verse 22, and ye should be hated of all men for my name's sake. And remember the previous verses, she was going through how even, those of your own household will be your enemies. But he that endureth to the end shall be saved. But when they persecute you in this city, flee ye into another. For verily I say unto you, ye shall not have gone over the cities of Israel till the Son of Man be come. So they understood the mission because Christ is giving the directive. That you might even have to flee from city to city. But if you don't flee, how else will you be able to preach this gospel in all the cities of Israel? Because not until you preach it to the cities of Israel, then the Son of Man will come. Go ahead, Art.
Verse 24, the disciple is not above his master, nor the servant above his Lord.
Right, and Christ is saying this for a reason. He's setting something up.
Verse 25, it is enough for the disciple that he be as his master, and the servant as his Lord. If they have called the master of the house Beelzebub, how much more shall they call them of his household?
So Christ is getting his disciples spiritually ready. Because in verse 24 it says, the disciple is not above his master, nor the servant above his Lord. So you're not going to be able to expect to just have it easy if I have to give up my life. That doesn't make any sense. That means you're better than me. That's not the case. And if I'm being called the devil, how much more will you be called? So he's trying to get them spiritually, mentally, and emotionally ready for what's to come, for this mission that he's about to put them on. Go ahead.
Verse 26, fear them not therefore, for there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, and hid that shall not be known.
And this is how you got to put your mind in a certain place and know that this is the authority that Christ was giving us. Go ahead.
Verse 27, what I tell you in darkness, that speak ye in light, and what ye hear in the ear, that preach ye upon the housetops.
Why is he saying this? Do you think it would be common sense for the disciples to teach what Christ is teaching them? But it might be some things within Christ's message that might ruffle some feathers in the midst of crisis. Holding back certain things might appear to you to ensure your safety, so you won't have to flee to the next city. So this is Christ spiritually preparing them. Go ahead.
Verse 28, and fear not them which kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul, but rather fear him which is able to destroy both soul and body in hell.
Right. Go ahead with the commentary, y'all.
It is even more so now than ever, the time that Yeshua spoke of that would come. A time in which those who speak the doctrine of Christ would be spoken of as if they were Satan himself.
Exactly. And it says, it is even more so now than ever, the time that Yeshua spoke of that will come. And you know how? Because they're rolling right here in the South Side. I was telling the officers on after Bible study, next time you see the red line train, look to see the decoration on it, how it's designed. Anybody seen it lately? What is it?
Big old rainbow of pride.
Big old rainbow of pride. Come. That's that North Side stuff. How is that even normal on the south side to be seeing that? But you know why? Because they bring it in here. And it's almost to the point, this is one of the most devastating scenes in movie history. And I didn't understand it when I saw it, but it's getting more and more to the point where this might actually come to life. And RoboCop 3, when they was just start putting people on buses and bulldozing people's houses because they was about to build the whole new city. I think that might actually come to pass, right? Where the gentrification is almost like a hostile takeover. It really is, but let's go with the commentary.
Have comfort knowing that Christ first had to go through it, and as followers, it is a sign we are on the right path. If we have spoken the word as Christ and the disciples once did. Being also mindful that we must fear the spirit which can both destroy our body and spirit, and not merely our bodies.
Right, so that's who we fear. The spirit that could destroy our own spirits. Not man that could destroy our flesh, right? Not man who could destroy our bodies, and definitely not man who could destroy our so-called reputation or our status. Let's get the next set of scriptures, Amos chapter 3, verse 3. Because in a sense, you could be scared of man because he might destroy your body in another sense, because by you saying certain things or doing certain things that might ruffle some feathers, that might destroy your so-called reputation, your means of survival might be threatened now. Your job, your career might be threatened, so-called, because the Most High got something greater for you anyway. That you got your job. We need to really understand. We really need to understand that these so-called professions that we have are byproducts of somebody else's economy system. And we'll put blood, sweat, and tears. We'll put blood, sweat, and tears in advancing in these so-called career paths, getting skill on top of skill. But it's helping Babylon. I'm not saying quit your jobs. I'm not about to go on a campaign, everybody quitting their jobs on Monday. That's not what I'm saying. But just realize the system that we're in, and it's all part of a well-oiled machine. And we've been brought up for that. We've been brought up and trained very efficiently to make sure this thing never runs on empty. Let's get Amos chapter 3, verse 3.
Amos chapter 3, verse 3. Can two walk together except they be agreed? Verse 4. Will a lion roar in the forest when he hath no prey? Will a young lion cry out of his den if he hath taken nothing? Right, so it says, will a lion roar in the forest when he have no prey? Will a young lion cry out of his den if he have taken nothing? Go ahead, and it's setting up a scenario. Verse 5. Can a bird in a snare upon the earth? Can a bird fall in a snare upon the earth? When no gin is for him, shall one take up a snare from the earth and have taken nothing at all? Verse 6. Shall a trumpet be blown in the city, and the people not be afraid? Shall there be evil in a city, and the Most High hath not done it? Verse 7. Surely the Most High will do nothing, but he revealeth his secret unto his servants, the prophets. Right, so it was given all these different scenarios about how one thing is an impossibility without the other, what you call it's a cause and effect relationship. Without the cause, it's not going to happen. Right? A lion is not going to roar if he doesn't have a prey. And it goes on with all these different scenarios. So it's the same thing, that the Most High will not do anything until he reveals it to his prophets first. Go ahead with the commentary. Understand that if we walk in Yeshua the Father will give us knowledge on what we will need to do in various situations.
So what does this mean here? How does it relate to the past scripture? Well, you know what? If we're not following the Most High, if we're being rebellious, we won't be spiritually in tune in what he's communicating to his prophets and what he has communicated to the prophets in the past. So we'll have no compass. We'll be in the midst of this chaos, riding the red line with the pride all over, not knowing what's going on. Right? Go ahead.
It is our fear of the unknown and our understanding that we are still rebellious, which causes us to forget this or doubt it.
It is our fear of the unknown and our understanding that we are still rebellious, which causes us to forget this or doubt it. And that's the key. Babylon cannot have a people that has self-respect, self-love, that has a community, that actually has families, right? Let's just start there. Babylon can have families, right? Because that means it's against the agenda of Babylon. So Babylon is going to train its citizens, and very much so, the people who can change everything around. Babylon's going to train them to have a particular mindset. A mindset that's by default going to rebel against the Most High. A mindset that's going to rebel and gravitate to Satan and Babylon. Because we know other way. We know no other way. That's what's normal to us. Let's get the next set of scriptures. Isaiah chapter 51, verse 5. Because, we could discuss for the rest of the year if we wanted to. We could probably just dissect the whole slavery mindset for the rest of the year and maybe another year on top of that, right? But there's so many spiritual aspects that go into that that's deeper than just the carnal surface level. Because it's spiritual aspects that keep us in bondage to Babylon, to the satanic philosophies of Babylon, right? So let's get Isaiah chapter 51, verse 5.
Isaiah chapter 51, verse 5. My righteousness is near, my salvation is gone forth, and mine arm shall judge the people. The isles shall wait upon me, and on mine arm shall they trust.
So it says, my righteousness is near. Well, what happens when you're taught not to lean on the Most High's righteousness? When you're actually taught to rebel against it, in reality, you question if it's even real, and if you do have some type of belief that it is real, it's not showing up fast enough for you anyway. It says, my righteousness is near, and then a couple more words down it says, and on my arm they shall trust. Now what does your arm, what does the arm represent? I heard it muffled a little bit. Your strength. So your arm represents your strength, and we're going to see what the Most High is talking about right here. Go ahead, Al.
Verse 6, lift up your eyes to the heavens, and look upon the earth beneath. For the heavens shall vanish away like smoke, and the earth shall wax old like a garment. And they that dwell therein shall die in like manner. But my salvation shall be forever, and my righteousness shall not be abolished. Verse 7, hearken unto me, ye that know righteousness, the people and those whose heart is my law. Fear ye not the reproach of men, neither be ye afraid of their revelings.
Right. So, in past lessons, the elders brought out how Christ is the right arm of the Most High, bringing out scriptures through David, linking up other prophecies, other scriptures and the prophets, but Verse 7 is key as well. It says, hearken unto me, ye that know righteousness. But what happens if you reject the Most High, you rebel against him, and you've been destroyed for lack of knowledge? It says, hearken unto me, ye that know righteousness, the people in whose heart is my law. Fear ye not the reproach of men, neither ye be afraid of the revilings. So those of us who fear the Most High, who have the law sown in our heart, we know not to fear man. Let's go ahead with the commentary.
This work is to be done regardless of the rejection we may get from others or the threats of violence and evil we may witness from our people. We must seek the kingdom which shall reign forever, not this world which is soon to be erased.
Right. So we're not to fear man. Now, is that to say we need to be prideful and put ourselves in harmful situations just to prove how much faith we have? No, that's foolish, right? But what it's saying is we have something, we have a foundation that we can guard ourselves up with when we need to find that strength, right? So let's get Proverbs chapter 19, verse 23.
Proverbs chapter 19, verse 23. The fear of the Most High tendeth to life, and he that hath it shall abide satisfied. He shall not be visited with evil.
Right, it says the fear of the Most High, the fear of the Most High tendeth to life, and he that hath it shall abide satisfied. He shall not be visited with evil. Let's get the commentary.
In the day of visitation, when judgment shall finally come upon the whole earth, it is the fear of the Father which shall protect us from the evils ahead.
And just out of my curiosity, satisfied in the Hebrew is 876:49, and is satiated in a pleasant or disagreeable sense, full of, satisfied with. So satiated, that's a interesting word. But let's get Psalms chapter 56, verse 3.
Psalms chapter 56, verse 3. What time I am afraid, I will trust in thee. Verse 4. In the Most High I will praise his word. In the Most High I have put my trust. I will not fear what flesh can do unto me. Verse 5. Every day they wrest my words. All their thoughts are against me for evil.
Right, it says, what time I am afraid, I will trust in thee. In the Most High I'll praise his word. In the Most High I'll put my trust. I will not fear the flesh. I will not fear what flesh can do unto me. Every day they wrest my words. All their thoughts are against me for evil. Go ahead with the commentary.
Being in the flesh can come with fears at times, but our spirit can overcome the flesh in times of trial if we praise the Father and trust in him.
Right, and that's key as well. It says, being in the flesh can come with fears at times. So we don't realize how those two go hand in hand. And this is how we can use these scriptures to kind of check ourselves, like, okay, if I'm being fearful right now, that means I'm in the flesh. If I'm being fearful right now, how can I build up my spirit? Because I'm not in the flesh. I'm in the flesh, so how can I build up my spirit? Right? And a lot of times we'll be doing things and not realizing how spiritual of a moment we're actually in. Because Babylon got all type of answers for us. You know. This is why you're being fearful right now. Because of some, I don't know, cognitive bias and all these other words, fancy words. You got to research the book what that means, right? You're being fearful because of your past, and you're being fearful because your upbringing. You didn't know your dad, and becomes carnal, and you look for carnal solutions, not spiritual solutions, because you don't even realize you're being in the flesh right now, right? So we always got to look to maintain the spirit and build up the spirit, because everything is spirit. So much so that Satan and Babylon knows that everything is in the spirit. So what does it want from you? It wants your mind, your body, your soul to be wrapped in the flesh all the time. What do you think Satan's most prized possession is?
Fear.
Boom. Who said that? Your mind. Who said that? All praises. That's Satan's most prized possession. Your mind. And it's levels, it's tiers. He got a shelf. Right? He got the general populace, their minds. But who you think minds is the most prized of them all? The believers. Because with the believers' minds, he still is able to run and operate. He gets empowered. Babylon, that engine is not running on empty at all, right? Engine staying full. Lights stay on. Well oiled. So we got to realize how to stay in the spirit. And it might seem like a foreign concept. What does that even mean? Well, of course it's going to seem foreign to us, because you know why? Our culture got taken from us. And why our culture get taken from us? Because it goes back to the same basic principle of being rebellious. Everything is just basic. Everything is just basic. So basic that it goes over our head, because it just can't be that simple. But it really is. It really is. So let's get Psalms, next scriptures, Psalms chapter 46, verse 1.
Psalms chapter 46, verse 1. To the chief musician for the sons of Korah, a song upon Alamoth. The Most High is our refuge and our strength, a very present help in trouble. Verse 2, therefore will not we fear, through the earth be removed, and through the mountains be carried into the midst of the sea. Verse 3, through the waters thereof roar, and be troubled, through the mountains shake with the swelling thereof, Selah. Verse 4, there is a river, the streams whereof shall make glad the city of the Most High, the holy place of the tabernacles of the Most High. The Most High is in the midst of her. She shall not be moved. The Most High shall help her, and that right early. Verse 6, the heathen raged. The kingdoms were moved. He uttered his voice. The earth melted. Verse 7, the Most High of hosts is with us. The Most High of Jacob is our refuge.
Right, it says, the Most High of Jacob, the God of Jacob, the power of Jacob is our refuge. That's foreign too, because Babylon became our refuge. Go ahead.
Selah. Verse 8, come, behold the works of the Most High, what desolation he had made in the earth. Verse 9, he maketh wars to cease unto the end of the earth. He breaketh the bow, and cutteth the spear in sunder. He burneth the chariot in the fire.
Now, what are these things David is describing here? The bow, the spear, and the chariot. What do these things got in common in his day and age that they was used for? Warfare. Come on, go ahead.
Verse 10, be still and know that I am the Most High. I will be exalted among the heathen. I will be exalted in the earth.
Just like how the other scripture we read, every tongue shall confess. Go ahead.
Verse 11, the Most High of hosts is with us. The Most High of Jacob is our refuge. Selah.
All right. Let's read the commentary.
The entire earth will be met with levels of destruction, but we are not to fear.
Why? Because we've decided and made a firm decision to follow the Most High and not rebel against him. And what's one of the benefits of that? Surely the Most High will do nothing unless he reveal it to his prophets. We got insiders information. Right? Go ahead, Art.
The Father laughs at the weapons and plans of the wicked. He will be our refuge in the day when Yeshua comes to judge the nations.
Once again, why is earth and ash is proud? So he laughs at their weapons, and he laughs at their plots, their schemes. He laughs at how wise man think he really is. Let's get the next set of scriptures. Ephesians chapter 3, verse 9.
Ephesians chapter 3, verse 9. And to make all men see what is the fellowship of the mystery.
Right, and we're going to get what that mystery is. Elder Gabar went over it a month or two or so ago. Go ahead.
Which from the beginning of the world hath been hid in the Most High, who created all things by Yeshua. Verse 10. To the intent that now unto the principalities and powers in heavenly places might be known by the church the manifold wisdom of the Most High. Verse 11. According to the eternal purpose which he proposed in Yeshua our Lord. Verse 12. In whom we have boldness and access with confidence by the faith of him.
Right. And these are some important concepts to realize. Like verse 11, it says, according to the eternal purpose which he purposed in Christ Yeshua our Lord. So eternal means it was set to be forever. There's no shaking that. So this is how you can have faith in something outside of yourself that will actually empower you and not make you weak-minded. Right? And it says, in whom we have boldness and access with confidence by the faith of him. Because we have faith in Christ and in the Most High, that the Most High's words don't come back void. Once again, having faith and belief in something outside of us is actually going to empower us. Go ahead, Art.
Verse 13. Wherefore I desire that ye faint not at my tribulations for you, which is your glory. Verse 14. For this cause I bow my knees unto the Father of Yeshua. Verse 15. Of whom the whole family in heaven and earth is named.
Key word, family. Go ahead.
Verse 16. That he would grant you according to the riches of his glory to be strengthened with the might of his spirit in the inner man. Verse 17. That Christ may dwell in your hearts by faith.
Right, and that's the only way he's going to dwell in your hearts, by faith. Go ahead.
That ye being rooted and grounded in love.
So that's, the scripture's talking about having a foundation and things of that nature. And that key foundation is being rooted and grounded in love. Right? So we're here with the commentary.
Through knowing our authority in Yeshua, We are strengthened in our spirit and gain strength against the devil in his attempt to shake our faith.
Right. And there's many forms, Satan comes in many forms, many ways to shake our faith, and many different attempts. Sometimes it'll come in the same way. Sometimes he might switch it up and throw a curveball. But it'll be many different attempts. And a lot of times it'll be attempts made, to what you call shake your faith, that you don't even realize that it is an attempt to shake your faith. Because the enemy is cunning. He has to rely on deceit. He's in the shadows, he's in the darkness. So that's how he operates. He's not gonna come up with a full force blitz right in front of your face. He's gonna come at different angles, left, right, behind you, sneaking upon you, in the shadows, right? He's gonna wear many different cloaks of friendship, of love, of peace, of subtlety, neighborly love, right? Acceptance, because he didn't create you to be so, what's the word? I can't even think of the word, but when you just need to be a part of something because you just don't have no sense of self of who you are, and that's not gender specific or race specific. We got a nation of people who just don't know who they are, who are empty shells, because Babylon had destroyed us. So much so that joining the bowling league will give us some satisfaction, right? Because we just need to be a part of something, right? So let's get the next set of scriptures. Okay, Second Chronicles in the Old Testament, the history books. 2 Chronicles chapter 20, verse 13. And nothing against the bowlers.
2 Chronicles chapter 20, verse 13. And all of Judah stood before the Most High with their little ones, their wives, and their children. Verse 14. Then upon Jehaziel, the son of Zechariah, the son of Benaiah, the son of Jael, the son of Mattaniah, a Levite of the sons of Asaph, came the Spirit of the Most High in the midst of the congregation. Verse 15. And he said, Hearken ye all Judah, ye inhabitants of Jerusalem, and thou King Jehoshaphat. Thou said the Most High unto you, Be not afraid nor dismayed by reason of this great multitude, for the battle is not yours, but the Most High.
Right, so just some backdrop. We got a situation here where it's a multitude of nations that's planning an invasion on Israel. Well, not Israel, but Jerusalem. Go ahead. And Jehoshaphat, which actually is one of our righteous kings, he's the leader at the time. And it's real key what he did, because Jehoshaphat found himself in the same shoes of other kings before him and after him that were facing war. And Jehoshaphat did the same thing. He sought the prophets. Some of them rebelled against what the prophets told them to do. But matter of fact, some of them didn't resort to the prophets, right? And they did their own thing, right? But Jehoshaphat, being one of our righteous kings, one of the most righteous kings we've had, right? Because I know there's a lot of, slogans in the world about Jehoshaphat, like jump at Jehoshaphat and, the valley of Jehoshaphat. I always came up just thinking he was evil or, I don't know, some bad guy or some villain in the book, right? But he was actually one of our most righteous kings. So go ahead, Art.
Verse 16. Tomorrow go ye down against them. Behold, they come up by the cliff of Zizi, and ye shall find them at the end of the brook. Behold, the wilderness of Jeru. Verse 17. Ye shall not need to fight in this battle. set yourselves, stand ye still, and see the salvation of the Most High with you. O Judah and Jerusalem, fear not, nor be dismayed. Tomorrow go out against them, for the Most High will be with you.
And just so you could understand even more, this is the king making an address to the whole nation. So you know how Trump gets on with the State of the Union? Imagine him getting on national television saying this, right? So that shows where we were spiritually and how in tune we were and how obedient we were and understood the benefits of a righteous king and the benefits of following and being in total order with a righteous king, right? And with the prophets, being in order was what's going on. Not looking at Jehoshaphat like he's crazy, which being in the flesh is a very logical thing to do. Go ahead.
Verse 18, and Jehoshaphat bowed his head with his face to the ground, and all Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem fell before the Most High, worshiping the Most High. Right,
so that's what they did. They didn't rebel. They followed suit with the king and fell to their faces and worshiped the Most High right along in unison. Go ahead.
And the Levites of the children of the Kohathites and the children of the Korhites stood up to praise the Most High God of Israel with a loud voice on high.
Right, so they began to praise. Go ahead.
Verse 20, and they rose early in the morning and went forth into the wilderness of Tekoa. And as they went forth, Jehoshaphat stood and said, hear me, O Judah, and ye inhabitants of Jerusalem. Believe in the Most High your power, so shall ye be established. Believe his prophets, so shall ye prosper.
Right, that's key. Hear me, O Judah, and ye inhabitants of Jerusalem. Believe in the Most High your power, so shall ye be established. So that's how you be established, by believing in your power, right? Believe his prophets as well, and that's how you prosper. Go ahead.
Verse 21, and when he had consulted with the people, he appointed singers unto the Most High.
And here's the thing about it. Going this route of being established and prospering does not seem sexy at all compared to how Babylon taught us to be established and prosperous. That means you got to remove yourself completely out the equation. But how can you do that when you've been taught to put yourself in the equation and make you the equation? See how we got to fight with so much stuff? And we'll spend an hour, me personally, spend an hour ironing my meat tree, making it folded perfectly. But this stuff goes right over my head, right? Online, on Amazon, on Etsy, looking for fringes. Gold metallic fringes, I still can't find them, but gold metallic fringes because I saw Elder Lawyer with some on, right? But this is so much stuff that's working inside of us, that is a part of us. But if we stay in the flesh, it will take over us and continue to operate us. And because we're almost like robots when you're in the flesh, because the flesh been programmed so well. I'm gonna say it again. I'm gonna say this for the rest of this year. You can't be a Hebrew and a slave at the same time, right? You can't be a Hebrew and an upstanding citizen of Babylon at the same time, right? A well-respected citizen of Babylon. There's no way. It's impossible. It don't mix. Go ahead, Art.
And that should praise the beauty of holiness, as they went out before the army, and to say, praise the Most High, for his mercy endureth forever. Verse 22, and when they began to sing and to praise, the Most High set ambushments against the children of Ammon, Moab, and Mount Seir, which were come against Judah. and they were smitten. Verse 23. For the children of Ammon and Moab stood up against the inhabitants of Mount Seir, utterly to slay and destroy them. And when they had made an end of the inhabitants of Seir, each one helped to destroy another. Verse 24. And when Judah came toward the watchtower in the wilderness, they looked unto the multitude, and behold, they were dead bodies fallen to the earth, and none escaped.
Right, so let's get the commentary.
Our people did not fear, but had faith in what the Father told them to do. Imagine the faith that day when you know the armies are coming to destroy your people, and you were instructed to do nothing but sing.
Right, go ahead.
This is the mindset we must have to conquer fear, and it starts by doing what the Most High said to do.
Mm-hmm. So let's get the next set of scriptures, Numbers chapter 14, verse 1.
D,
Yes, sir.
can I make a comment?
Go ahead.
They was about to go to war. Right? We know that we wrestle not with flesh and blood. And we in the spiritual warfare. How much more important to pray to approach our day, approach any situation, so that the Lord can fight for us.
Come on.
Right?
Good point, huh? Look like you want to say something else, no?
Nah.
All right. Hey, all praise.
Numbers chapter 14, verse 1. And the congregation lifted up their voice and cried, and the people wept that night.
So here we got a scenario, and this is why we got to understand what our people did in past times and how our people approached crisis situations in past times. So we'll know what's in our nature. Go ahead.
Verse 2. And all the children of Israel murmured against Moses and against Aaron. And the whole congregation said unto them, would the Most High that we had died in the land of Egypt, or would the Most High we had died in this wilderness?
So they're posing a question, and it says all the congregation lifted up their voice. So it's a mob has formed, and not just a few, all the congregation. The whole congregation of Israel is in one mind with this complaint, right? Saying, we could have died in Egypt for all of this. Go ahead.
Verse 3. Wherefore hath the Most High brought us unto this land, to fall by the sword, that our wives and our children should be a prey? Were it not better for us to return into Egypt?
And because here's the thing, if you're traveling on foot in the wilderness, setting up camp from one location to the next, truly the scriptures spoke the truth. We'll be a town inhabited without walls. So you're naked out there. You don't have that backing of the empire of Egypt anymore. You know what you did? You just said no to your multi-million-dollar contract and say, you know, I'm gonna strike out on my own now. But realize that you just left the dominant team in the league and you was their franchise player, right? And now you're on your own with no agent, right? Just trying to put in some real life terms. Because they realize that they're not protected by the force and the might and the reverence that Egypt had. They were under Egypt's shield, their protection, under their wing. Even though they was catching, what you call pretty much the worst situation of the time right then. But they say, hey, anything is better than this. We'll go back. We'll go back to that. Because at least we know what to expect. Out here, we don't know what to expect. Go ahead.
Verse 4, and they said one to another, let us make a captain, and let us return into Egypt. Verse 5, then...
And let us make a captain, and let us return into Egypt. Because at least with Egypt, we developed in our mind, since we was operating the flesh, on how to cope with that horrendous reality. This being free, we don't know how to cope with this. And it's some very powerful interviews that's been documented in just random books. I couldn't even name them. I know one offhand, Slavery by Another Name. That goes into how they created the industrial system, just pretty much slavery. But it's another book, The Story of the Negro by Booker T. Washington. And he did a lot of field interviews, right? And he was interviewing a lot of ex-slaves. And a lot of them was lost. A lot of them was like, I don't even know what to do with freedom. I don't even know what that means. But guess what? It's nothing new. It happened 2,000, 3,000 years ago too. And it's happening now. The Gathering of Christ Church, it's not apostolic or Kojic or any other mess that's backed by some name, backed by some machine that's a daughter of the whore. What you mean we're gonna make our own church? What you mean we're gonna buy our own building? What? We're gonna start making our own food too? And not cater? We're gonna knock down this wall by ourselves? We're gonna paint the walls by ourselves? We're gonna build a stage by ourselves? Matter of fact, we're gonna secure ourselves? Everybody else does it. And smile while you ask them to do it for you. And charge you. Right? So where we at? I think we're verse 5.
Then Moses and Aaron fell on their faces before all the assembly of the congregation of the children of Israel. Verse 6. And Joshua, the son of Nun, and Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, which were of them that searched the land, rent their clothes.
Right, because these men understood spiritually what was going on. They was like, we about to get this, y'all about to get us destroyed. Go ahead, Art.
Verse 7, and they spake unto the company of the children of Israel, saying, the land which we passed through to search it is an exceedingly good land. Verse 8, if the Most High delights in us, then he will bring us into this land and give it us a land which floweth with milk and honey. Verse 9, only rebel not ye against the Most High, neither fear ye the people of the land, for they are bread for us. Their deference is departed from them, and the Most High is with us. Fear them not.
Right, so they're trying to reason with these people, and I say these people for a reason, because the hard-headed, stiff-necked people of Israel. But they still got faith because they know that same hard-headed, stiff-necked spirit could get turned for the better. So they're trying to plead to them and reason with them and say, don't be scared of these people of this land. Their defense is gone. Our God has already set it up for us. All we gotta do is just follow the instructions that our power tells us and walks right in there. And it makes even more sense why Israel seeketh a sign. We literally gotta take our people to Egypt in the what's it called, the big things, the pyramids. We gotta take our people to the pyramid and do the digging ourselves to show them, otherwise our people, we just need a sign because we're that stiff-necked. That's why Elder Gabar was saying, when it was the Kemet on trial, you got PowerPoints, presentations, all that stuff. You still need more. We're still gonna sit back, it's not good enough, right? We'll come with the person who dug up the mummy tombs, still not good enough, right? So just know what we're dealing with. But at the same time, when that gets flipped over, you're gonna have to do one heck of a job, and we're gonna need to see a lot of proof that our God is not our God, right? And that our Savior is not our Savior. Once we get it flipped in our heads, in our spirit, really, right? Let's go over the commentary. We finished? Okay, go ahead.
Verse 10, but all the congregation bade stone them with stones. And the story of the Most High appeared in the tabernacle of the congregation before all the children of Israel.
So do we all understand what is happening here? These men pleaded to them, but the congregation of Israel's only conclusion they came up with, let's stone them. They're in our way. But guess what happened? That sign that they needed came on down. Right? So let's read the commentary.
This is a reminder of how rebellious as a people we tend to be. The Father had already destroyed the Egyptians before our eyes, yet we allow fear from the report of men who lack faith to hold us back from going into our promised land.
Brother AHRAYAH, when we was outside taking a break, what did I tell you, Art? Steven Spielberg and Hollywood has nothing on us when it comes down to how we can tell a story in our head when it comes to fear. Once we get that fear, we can tell all type of stories in our head. Hollywood producers, screenwriters ain't got nothing on us. They don't. It says, this is a reminder of how rebellious as a people we tend to be. The Father had already destroyed the Egyptians before our eyes, yet we allow fear to change everything. We'll come up with all type of stories, and it'll be the best story ever. That's when we'll pull out the charts and the graphs and everything, supporting our theory on why we can't do something, why we can't knock this wall down, right? Why we can't paint the walls. Why we can't lay that thing down right there, the nice centerpiece that the brothers came up with. Why we can't run a church and govern ourselves. Well, how are we gonna do that? Right? And this is what stunts our growth. Men, this is why I need to be single, why I don't need a woman, why I need to focus on the work. No, get your wife, get a family.
God.
Say that again.
Get a wife, get a family, right? Sisters, I said it last time, I can do bad on my own, right? No, get you a man, get a family, right? We don't need Babylon to show us how to make a community, how to have families, how to raise our children, how to teach our children. We already know how to do it, right? Babylon make it seem like the whole world was in darkness till they showed up. And that's that satanic philosophy, because all the different kingdoms did the same thing. That's how you know it's Satan ruling all these different kingdoms. It was with the Persians, the Medes, the Assyrians, the Greeks, all the different kingdoms felt that they was leading humanity in the next age, right? And they'll colonize and make the people of the land think that their way is primitive and there's no value in it. And that's how you forget your own way. It's the same blueprint, the same pattern. Granted, other nations weren't following the true God, so there's an argument there. But still, the Most High made us to serve the world, not conquer it. So we can't lose that sense of who we are and what our rightful place is. We don't come from the backwoods of the Amazon, the backwoods of the Australian, what's it called? The Australian, what they call it? Outback. Yeah, the Outback. Who called it the Outback? Right? Don't you know that historians revere the king of the Sun God Empire as one of the most talented administrators and rulers of all? And guess what time he was ruling? When the Portuguese was over there in West Africa. We'll never hear that. We'll never hear that. We'll never hear that. What was the narrative? That Gad was savages, the Apaches, the Comanches were savages, the Mayans, the Incans were savages, and Incans, if you don't know, that's Peru, who we're honoring today. Asher. I got you, Rock. The different tribes in West Africa were savages, right? And it wasn't, it's the same blueprint. When a kingdom takes over people, that's how you know it's satanic. Because there ain't nothing new. Because the Romans called the Greek savages. The same thing. The Romans called the Britons savages. And the Irish savages. The same thing. The Medes and the Persians called the Assyrians savages. They had the way. The same blueprint, so we can't get fooled. We can't get fooled when we got some other system trying to say that they have the way and they have the light. No, that's Christ. Right? Where are we? Oh, all right.
Yeah, I have a comment. I thought about it a lot. I said, how come God don't want us following other nations? And I thought about it. I said, you know what? That's probably the reason why he don't want us doing that. For example, like say the Ten Commandments. You see that part where they be thinking, oh yeah, God can't turn his water into blood, and guess what he did? But when Moses died out of Egypt and the sun died, Pharaoh was up there trying to worship that same statue. Nothing didn't happen. And I could say, okay, that's probably the reason for that. And I could say, okay, for example, like you said, the Incas, the Aztecs, the Mayans, when they done got to another world, guess what? They started doing the same thing like the Egyptians. But when something goes wrong, like say the Egyptians thought they were powerful until you start having all these invaders from Persia, and the Greeks showed up and the Romans, and they saw what they went through. Same thing with the Aztecs. They did the same thing as the Egyptians. Then when you get people like Columbus and Cortez show up, then you probably wonder why. And I thought about it and say, you know what? Probably because they did the same thing like the Egyptians. Worship some other God before the Most High. Then you wonder why you be having all these invaders coming to your land.
And that's Brother Chad. He's been an honorary member of GOCC Chicago for about 5 years. We always see him everywhere we go, street preaching. He finally came, right? All praises. So let's get the next set of scriptures. Oh, we got the commentary? Okay.
Only Joshua and Caleb came back with a good report. And our lack of faith causes us to be cursed to walk in the desert for 40 years until our older generations die, with the exception of a few righteous souls. We also look to kill those who told us the truth and stood by the faithless.
So 2 things right there. And Officer Picard brought it up. I don't know if was it your Bible study, or I don't know if you made a comment the last time, we were up here teaching. But how you gotta be mindful of a decision that you make, because your one decision might affect generations to come. So you might selfishly cling to this story you created because of fear, not knowing that the result of this, your whole nation about to be wandering for 40 years. And you about to become a proverb and a byword for generations to come, right? And it says, we also look to kill those who told us the truth and stood by the faithless. Stood by the faithless, because we didn't want to accept the truth. And remember, what does the truth do? It can make us free if we decide to listen to it. But the truth will threaten everything that you rely on for sanity. Everything you rely on for comfort, for confidence, right? That's what the truth does. And if you're not spiritually in tune with it, you don't know how to just rock the boat and be lukewarm until Christ comes and separates separate the goats, the sheep from the goats. Right? Because the truth will strip you of everything that you relied on to keep you sane and to keep you moving forward. It'll shake everything that you so-called call reality and give you something new to ponder on. So let's get the next set of scriptures. We got James chapter 3, verse 13.
James chapter 3, verse 13. Who is a wise man and endure with knowledge among you?
Right, so, I'm sorry. So he's posing the question, who is a wise man and endure with knowledge among you? Go ahead.
Let him show out of a good conversation his works with meekness of wisdom. Verse 14. But if ye have bitter envying and strife in your hearts, glory not, and lie not against the truth.
Right. So it says, if you have bitter envying and strife in your hearts, don't go about the congregation and glorying, and lie not against the truth. Why? Because it's in the commandments. Right? Don't blaspheme. Don't say the Most High's name in vain. That's what that's going into. Because you live in a lie. You actually have envy and strife in your heart. So you're not to glory if that's what you're dealing with. Not to cast you to the dogs, but just gotta be real, face reality. There's some spirits I'm dealing with, and this is what happens when I operate in the flesh. This is my recourse, my default button if I operate in the flesh. So now I gotta realize, let me get back in the spirit. Because if I let my flesh rule, then envy and strife is gonna rule. That's what's gonna win. Go ahead, Art.
Verse 15. This wisdom descended not from above, but is earthly, sensual, devilish.
Right. And this wisdom, why does it call it wisdom? Why? Because this is called the shortcuts on getting what you want in Babylon. Through envy, being underhanded, and being deceitful, being cunning. Right? A dog-eat-dog world, so they say. this competition-driven world that we in. And it's almost like you're at blame if you don't have the personality to be able to compete. You're the one that need to fix yourself because you don't have a good enough personality to compete out there. But we never question the system that caused us to compete at a bloodthirsty level with deceit and trickery and underhandedness. Using people, not building relationships, but just using the other person because they have money or they know a few folks. Or you know what? They go to nice restaurants that I can't afford myself. So if I hang around them long enough, they're gonna invite me out to eat. Or matter of fact, this person is nice. So if I hang around with them enough, and I know they know a lot of people in powerful positions, I might be able to get a job. They might let me know about a job opening, or they might like me. I know, because I done learned how to manipulate situations to get what I want, because that's the status quo of Babylon. That's what we learn. Those power games, what they call them. The office politics is another name for it. And it ain't just white collar either. Because we said this before, if you ain't got a union job, it's probably more cutthroat than the corporate world. Right? There's just a few stories popping in my head, but there's no time for that. But just, those unions, they can be cutthroat. School, high school, college, the PTA, it doesn't even matter. It goes in all different fields. It doesn't matter. So we gotta understand that wisdom that we develop is not from on high. Go ahead, Doc.
Verse 16, for where envy and strife is, there is confusion in every evil work. Verse 17, but the wisdom that is from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, and easy to be entreated, full of mercy and good fruits, without partiality and without hypocrisy.
Right. Excuse me. But the wisdom that is from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, and easy to be entreated, full of mercy and good fruits, without partiality and without hypocrisy. Go ahead.
Verse 18, and the fruits of righteousness is sown in peace of them that make peace.
That's why Christ said, blessed be the peacemakers. Because that's how the fruits of righteousness is sown inside you, if you strive to make peace. We could continue with the commentary.
Those that rebel came against those who the Most High brought forth the truth through and even lied against them.
Right, but here's the thing. You'll be tempted very quickly to play that game, because you'll see somebody playing that game against you and you can see it clear as day, and you'll be tempted to want to spar with them. But no, truth reigns supreme. Honor, integrity reigns supreme. And those are the things, when you fear the Most High, that'll cause all the trouble around you to melt before you. So we can't stoop down, the old cliche, you can't stoop down to somebody else's level. Proverbs even said, answer a fool according to his folly, you make him wise in his own conceit. So if you operate in darkness, against darkness, what do you think is gonna happen? Right, and we'll wonder why these random things happen to us. We get rear-ended, or we lose our mail. The check's supposed to come, check never come. The mailman lose our check in the mail. Because it'll show up in other things. Why? Because your belief system creates your behavior, so it's going to show up somewhere else. You wonder why you're in debt. Well, you created it. Because you was underhanded somewhere else. It's going to show up somewhere else. It might not show up directly tired, but it'll always show up somewhere else because your whole being is with that. And that's why, let me just get it real quick. And Proverbs. Proverbs 1:26. And the beginning of the chapter, well, for the majority of the chapter before this, wisdom is saying, how long, ye simple ones, will I have to cry out to you? But it says in verse 26, I also will laugh at your calamity. I'll mock when your fear cometh. When your fear cometh as desolation, and your destruction cometh as a whirlwind. When distress and anguish cometh upon you, then shall they call upon me, but I will not answer. They shall seek me early, but they shall not find me. For that they hated knowledge and did not choose to fear the Lord. They were none of my counsel. They despised all my reproof. Therefore shall they eat of the fruit of their own way, and be filled with their own devices. For the turning away of the simple shall slay them, and the prosperity of fools shall destroy them. But whoso hearkeneth unto me shall dwell safely, and shall be quiet from fear of evil. So as the turning away of the simple is that behavior, that thought process, those actions of turning away, of being rebellious, that's what's going to actually slay you. And the prosperity of fools, that's deep in itself too. Because being in the state of mind of a fool, what you'll count as prosperity, what you'll count as prosperity and progress, really isn't. It's an illusion. And I was having a conversation with my wife. It's real interesting. I'm gonna see what the elder has to say about this. Maybe we could do a Bible study lesson or even a Shabbat lesson. But it's real interesting when you really decipher what wealth truly means according to scriptures, versus what Babylon told us what wealth is, right? Because in essence, wealth is actually your character, wisdom, the Holy Spirit. That's what wealth truly is. And material gain is a byproduct. And actually the material gain, even in access, like you're gonna be part of the yacht club over there on Monroe and off this Lakeshore Drive, it actually means plenty, enough. Not a yacht. And yacht owners, no disrespect. But hey, but still, these are things we gotta kind of understand what we've been programmed to believe, right? And we'll try to rationalize in our head and negotiate with the Most High. Well, a yacht ain't that bad. There's nothing evil about a yacht, but it's your pursuit, your aspirations, what you're willing to put on the line for that yacht, for that lifestyle. Really, that's what it is you want, you're coveting after. Well, going on a tangent. So let's get back, go back focus, right?
If we hope to make it through these times in which the devil is on the loose, we must choose the wisdom from above, and regardless of anything, never lie against the doctrine of Yeshua and those who speak it.
Right, so moving along, we coming to a close right around the corner. Let's get Philippians chapter 4, verse 8. Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Philippians chapter 4, verse 8. Finally, my brethren, whosoever things are true, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, and if there be any praise, think on these things.
Right, so it says, think on these things. So, like I said before, it's very true when the scripture says a renewing of your mind. You can't do patchwork on old, outdated ideas that just keep giving you the same results. That's insanity, according to a few people. So you gotta put new thoughts in your head, new ideas in your head. Live by these scriptures. Let these scriptures be in your mind. Because the old way is going to keep, you're going to stay in that same loop. So it says, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, are just, are pure, are lovely, are of good report, if there be any virtue, if there be any praise, think on these things. So renewing of the mind means actually new ideas, new thoughts. Because you can't keep operating, you can't operate in a space where you're trying to change your life around, but you got the same thoughts and the same patterns and the same behavior patterns, things like that. You need something totally new, right? That's why it brings even more understanding. Can I find it? You know how it be when you're in a hot seat trying to find a scripture and you read it every day. Anyway, I'm about to paraphrase horribly, but how the righteous man will want to be corrected. Because obviously through correction, you're going to get something new in your head, right? And the Bible also says, be not wise in your own conceits. Being wise in your own conceits meaning you string into your same old belief systems. Prime example, if you say, hey, and I'm guilty, right? If you say, hey, for some odd reason, I can't fit these clothes anymore, but I'm still slamming cheeseburgers, still got the same thought process in my head, still got the same habits of just grabbing a donut with my morning coffee and throwing 6 ounces of creamer in it. What do you expect, right? I'm just giving you some real life scenarios on how this stuff actually works and how we expect some change, but we do the same things because we're not putting new thoughts in our head. And we got the ultimate collection of new thoughts right here, right? So let's go verse 9.
Verse 9. Those things which ye have both learned and received and heard and seen in me, do, and the Most High of peace shall be with you. Verse 10. But I rejoice in the Most High greatly, that now at the last your care of me has flourished again, wherein ye were also careful, but ye lacked opportunity. Verse 11. Not that I speak in respect of want, for I have learned in whatsoever state I am, therewith to be content.
And there's some wisdom in these scriptures that's a little hidden, it's a little subtle, but once we understand the history of the Church of Philippians, it'll hit right in home with us. What was the Church of Philippians known for? They were one of the churches that had some of the most faith and some of the works, despite this one Achilles heel they had. And what was that? Somebody said it. Somebody over here just said it. Money. Money. That's why Paul, in another chapter, in another book, he said, I had to rob, when he was speaking to Corinthians, I had to rob from other churches, right? So Philippians still gave, but that's what Paul means, like, even though you didn't have opportunity, but still your faith and your good works that I'm hearing of this good report from you, that just trumps all of that. And that's why he had to say, not that I speak in respect of want, not that I'm lacking these things, or the material things that you could give me, but I'm just giving you praise because you didn't even have the opportunity, but you still, the care that you have for me, and by you honoring me even more by doing what I said, that trumps it all. So go ahead.
Verse 11. Not that I speak in respect of one, for I have learned in whatsoever state I am, therewith to be content.
Right, so Paul is saying, it's not about that because I've learned through my experience. Now how I go? You just talked the other experience, patience, hope. I left one out. But through his
Experienced twice.
right. So through his experience of these things, he didn't learn that just be content because the Most High is going to take care of it. I'm doing the work. And I got that authority from Christ. So I don't have to have any fear right now. I'm doing the mission. Go ahead, Art.
Verse 12. I know about how to be abased, and I know how to abound. Everywhere and in all things I am instructed both to be full and to be hungry, both to abound and to suffer need.
Go ahead with the commentary.
Whatever state we are in, we must continue to push forward in faith to finish this race. Focusing on those things which are pure will allow us to finish the mission which the Father has put on us.
Right, so rounding third base, driving it home. Let's get Revelation chapter 14, verse 8.
Revelations chapter 14, verse 8. And there followed another angel saying, Babylon is fallen, that great city, because she made all the nations drink of the wine of her wrath, of her fornication.
Right, and this is a reality and a truth that might be hard for a few of us to accept, definitely for our family members, that Babylon actually is falling. And we got to come to terms with the fact, keyword fact, that there is life after Babylon, right? Not saying we all just grab our parachutes and jump ship now, because it got to be order. But what I'm saying is, first we got to come out of it mentally and spiritually. And that's going to be hard. Because think about how hard it is leaving a job for another one. That's all you've known. Or how hard it is to move if you lived in a neighborhood your whole life so far, and you got to leave your friends, your family, your kids didn't develop relationships in the school, stuff like that. That's a hard thing to do. So even so much more with Babylon, if you got to leave something that you invested your whole being into, right? Babylon is your big brother. And your daddy, and your mother. Babylon positioned itself in a way that you would think when Babylon ends, that's the end of the world. It's showed in movies, all the destruction movies, the post-apocalyptic movies, Babylon the first one to get hit. It's always New York, LA, or Washington, DC. And it's an end of the world type movie. So obviously when Babylon ends, that means everything else is, there's no way anything else can function without Babylon. But that's not true. Babylon got to keep its loyal subjects believing in the doctrine, right? So Babylon actually is falling. And that's the first thing, that's one of the first things we got to come to terms with. Go ahead, Art.
Verse 9. And the third angel followed them, saying in a loud voice, If any man worship the beast in his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, verse 10, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of the Most High, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation.
And we went over this before. Poured out without mixture. That means it doesn't lose its potency, because it's not mixed. It has its potency and its purity. Right? Go ahead.
And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. Verse 11. And the smoke of their torment ascended up forever and ever, and they have no rest, day nor night, who worship the beast in his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name. Verse 12. Here is the patience of the saints.
And remember, I believe it's Peter, when it was saying the trying of your faith is worth more than gold. Right? So here's the patience of the saints.
Here are they that keep the commandments of the Most High and the faith of Yeshua.
So that's how you keep, that's the measuring, how you keep your patience, right? Or how you prove that your patience is enduring. By you keeping the commandments and keeping the faith of Yeshua, the testimony of Yeshua, in a world that teaches contrary. In a world where keeping the commandments and keeping the faith of the testimony of Christ is insanity. They made righteousness seem as if it's insanity. Right? So much so, I'm telling you, if we all could drive Lyft, we should do it. It's the perfect field study of what the state of the world is in, right? Because I'm able to talk and see so many people. And it's crazy how, granted, I might have a bias because by doing Lyft, I'm not going to pick up that many families, just by default. But just being out there and talking to the people I speak to, it just seems like most of the population intends on being single and staying single and living their life and being consumed on how they think their life needs to turn out. Right? And if you talk to people, that's just the state of the general population. Nobody's concerned about building anything. It don't matter who you are, black, white, Chinese, Asian, Italian, whatever, East Indian, this whole generation is warped and being consumed with the self and consumed with the image. That's key too. So let's get the next set of scriptures. Revelation chapter 21, verse 6.
Revelation chapter 21, verse 6.
And real quick, I had a very interesting conversation with a pastor the other day. And we was talking about education, things like that, and how he said education is important. So I asked him why. Why do you feel that way? And he said education gives you more choices, right? So if you got formal education, meaning you went to college or went to some trade school, whatever the case may be, you're going to have more choices. And he was saying how he, because the job he had, he deals with the transportation system in Chicago. And we was talking about how the South Side really isn't set up where you can get around, but the North Side is. And just this whole thing, like if you examine the landscape of the city, where you got more stuff on the North Side simply because you can get to it, versus the South Side, how it's laid out. But also how you get the economics of the South Side. It's really not the same as the North Side. So of course, even if you did have access to the stuff, you might not be able to afford it. So that's how we got into the conversation about education and all this other stuff. So his whole thing was that education would give you more choices, right? And he was like, when you look at history and all the different civilizations, it was always the elite that was at the top that kept the general population, uneducated. Like black folks, right? Am I right? Because if you keep people uneducated, but here's the thing, what do we need to be educated in? Do we need to be educated in computer sciences? Do we need to be educated in civil engineering? And the new thing is, I had a pastor, a young guy, like 19. I asked him so many questions because there's a generation gap, so he's seeing the world completely different from me. And he's seeing the future. He's a young black guy, very interesting guy. But he said the future is the STEM jobs. I said, what are STEM jobs? Because you might see STEM schools that's popping up all over the place. So pretty much robotics, engineering, stuff like science, math, and I forget what they stand for, right? Right. So that's the future, so-called, right? Now, to be practical, very, very practical, we do need to, there's no way we would have been able to build a stage and knock down a wall without any skills. So let's be practical. But the true knowledge that we need to be educated on is our history, our culture, our traditions, right? Our law, our Savior, most of all. Because believe it or not, you're not just on some island being your own little personality. You're just not on some island. The culture you live in pretty much dictate your personality. That's why we gotta build the body of Christ. That's why we gotta build the body of Christ. Because by default, we'll have a bunch of spiritual robots up in here. When you talk to a lot of people who don't have the knowledge of the truth, a lot of their situations, their so-called issues is real simple. They don't have a support network. They're not talking to anybody who has any type of understanding of what it means to be a person of character according to the Bible, who understands the law and things of that nature. But guess what happens once we start having conversations? You got a support group. Me and this brother can talk. Me and the next brother can talk. Two sisters can talk, because we all got the same mindset. We building that culture, the righteous culture, the church. And it's the culture that helps dictate what's right or wrong. You know what I'm saying? Out there is a very fuzzy, blurry line, what's right and wrong. So much so that everybody's starting to look the same. You don't know what you're looking at. So that's why you gotta, Babylon tells you to invest in yourself. Because by investing in yourself, by default, you're investing in Babylon. But what happens when you invest in the church? What happens when you invest into the brothers and sisters that's showing up every week here? Right? What will happen then? That's how a community is formed. That's how a movement, how Elder Gabar always talks about an idea, right? That's how this stuff works. And trust me, believe, Satan knows this. So he's gonna keep us believing that we need to strive to be individuals. We need to strive to make sure we make our mark on the world. We need to realize that the church is holding us back. How can I express myself and explore my talents if the church is holding me down? It started with the family. That's what I'm saying. How this stuff is so subtle, so wise and crafty, and how evil genius it is. It starts with the family. What's the narrative? Well, your parents, they're holding you down. Your brothers and sisters, they just don't understand you. They're holding you back. You got all the talent in the world. They just don't understand you. Right? You want to go out and strike on your own, try to be an entrepreneur? Well, they come from the old school way of get a job and 401k. They don't understand you. But still, that's satanic because you're cutting off the number one support system is the family. Your wife is holding you back. She don't understand you. Your husband is holding you back. He don't understand you. So it's a lot of things how Babylon taught us to just, invest on our path and forget everybody else. And if anybody got any questions, they're gonna get rolled over because I'm on my mission. But it's impossible to build a church that way. It's impossible to build a nation that way, right? So we at the last set of scriptures, Revelations 21:6.
Revelations 21, verse 6. And he said unto me, it is done. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. I will give unto him that is a thirst of the fountain of water of life freely. Verse 7. He that overcometh shall inherit all things, and I will be his power, and he shall be my son.
Right. And it says, I will give unto him that is athirst of the fountain of the water of life freely. So it's freely given to us. And I believe it's Deuteronomy 16 and 11 through like 21, where it's saying like the law is not, is not somewhere far off from us. It's close, it's nigh, right? So the access to it was always right there. It was never far from us. Go ahead, Art.
Verse 8. But the fearful and unbelieving and the abominable and the murderers and the whoremongers and the sorcerers and the idolaters and all liars shall have their part in the lake which burneth with fire and brimstone, which is the second death.
Right, so it names all these evil, diabolical things. The abominable, the murderers, the whoremongers, the sorcerers, and idolaters, and liars. Easy to point that stuff out and cast them to the dogs and cast them into hellfire. But what's the first two it says? The fearful and unbelieving. Grouped in with the same bunch. Y'all in the same club. Painted with the same brush, right? So let's get the commentary, the final commentary.
Walk without fear, because fear causes unbelief, and through that opens the door for all kinds of abominable things. These things are worthy of hellfire, and if we hope to drink of the waters of eternal life freely, we must walk in faith, not fear. Stay on the path and walk fearless in the pursuit of eternal life. Shalom.
All right. All right, so do we have any questions? Oh, yeah, yes, sir. We're going to give you a mic, our brother Chad in the back.
Yeah. I have a question. Just a while when I was on Instagram, I was looking at something about what was this thing I was trying to remember? Oh yeah, about, you see how people be walking down the street wearing crosses and all? A while back, be honestly, okay, I was wearing masks and someone from an organization, this was last year, they said, why are you wearing that cross? And they kind of came to me and said, okay, don't you know what you're doing when you're wearing that cross? And when I thought about it, and it explained it to me, when I went on Instagram, I kind of saw this little picture of, okay, what happens when you wear the cross? Then they be saying stuff like it represents certain things, like say slavery, or like Jim Crow era, and they pointed all the way back to Jesus, and I kind of God say, oh yeah, I see where they're going. Like say, how we react if Jesus got shot or stabbed on the street. They think that's our reaction if we like wear the cross. Because remember, he was crucified to the cross, and that's what they did to like the Israelites, correct?
Yeah, come on.
So I'm trying to understand, okay, the meaning of the cross, or like when we wear it.
Okay, well, I'll give you the most strictest meaning to it, the most direct meaning, right? Because it's endless theories about where the cross comes from. I could give you some facts, another person gives some facts, but let's see what the Bible has to say about the cross. So let's get Exodus 20 and verse 4. Well, verse 3, right? Because with everything, we got to filter through the knowledge of the Most High and listen to the wisdom of Christ, right? So we could be up all night watching YouTube videos about the cross. Or we could just spend 30 seconds right now, right? So Exodus 20, chapter 3, it says, thou shalt have no other gods before me. So number one, we reverence and respect our power and give him all glory first. And no other gods beside him. He's our power, right? Now verse 4 says, thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them, for I, the Most High, thy power, am a jealous power, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. So, Brother Chad, the main thing we got to understand is that before we try to wrestle with all these different philosophies and all these different histories on the meaning and the origin of the cross, we got to first seek what our Father said about the cross. So we're not supposed to deal with anything, any type of idol worship, period. So when we filter, when we see the cross and we look at the cross from these lenses through the law, what we was instructed, not what man comes up with these different YouTube videos, these different blogs, these different articles, these different books, because you can lose yourself in that. And then all that knowledge becomes carnal. When, from the very get-go, when we first became a nation, right, the Most High instructed us not to have any type of idol worship, right? So that's the key thing I want you to understand, all right?
Yeah, I understand that, because when they talk about different holidays, okay, when they talk about different holidays, not only Christmas and Thanksgiving, they say other holidays that we shouldn't be doing, because they think, oh yeah, you're probably worshiping something like another god or something, or worshiping something that happened to the destruction of another people. For example, what's the day holiday? Oh yeah, Mardi Gras. Yeah, they think when you worship Mardi Gras, you're worshiping the god of what's the second? Or you're worshiping the god of bomb. Or they say, what's another one I just did on? Oh yeah, Black Friday. They think if you did Black Friday, you're just celebrating slavery.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. With all the different holidays, you are worshiping another god. So we got to stay away from the different holidays too, no matter how small it might seem. Right?
Yes, or another god, or the destruction of other people.
Right, yeah, exactly. Like Thanksgiving, for example.
Thanksgiving, Columbus Day, Black Friday.
Any more questions or any comments? Anybody got? Any questions or comments? All right, so is anybody here for the first time? Okay, we got a sister in the back, and yeah, I believe that is it. Everybody here for the first time. Well, Brother Darius and Pierre, this is your first time at this location. I know y'all was at Maryland, so welcome to the new location. Yep. Because where y'all stay pretty far, right?
I do. I stay in Decatur. It's like 3 hours.
Right. And where you stay again, up? Right, so these brothers, they've been with us, they've been watching the videos, they came to Maryland. Was it once or twice?
I've been there a
few times. Yeah, so these brothers, welcome them. They part of the body, just, they stay far. And as far as Carroll Stream goes, I know that's way out there. Nobody really knows what it is. It's always show up on our envelopes for some reason in the mail. But we got brothers that come through that way, because I know he's in McHenry County. The brother Sean right here, right to your right, yep. And then Brother Damian, they come from Wisconsin, things of that nature. So maybe y'all could hook up and, see how to carpool or maybe trail each other and everything. And Decatur, that's like southern Illinois, right?
Yeah, it's around Springfield.
Yeah.
Places like that.
That's pretty far. So we got some other people who travel, from far like that. So, I'll hook you up with the right folks, all right? Sister?
Shalom. Shalom. I just came with my family for the first time. This is my daughter. I'm Corey. And we're going to be coming more often. We're from Wisconsin as well. I don't know what up. Yeah, but I'll be here way more often.
All right.
Really breaks my heart. 'Cause we've been lied to, misled tears.
AHRAYAH,